Many of you may have heard of something called Occupy Wall Street. In my view, it was fundamentally misfocused. We need to end Wall Street, not occupy it. And the way that one ends it is by shifting where we invest our money, where we put our savings. Now, the good news is that we know that if you put your savings into local business, it has enormous impact on prosperity and happiness. This is from the Harvard Business Review in the summer of 2010, and what it shows is that in those communities in the United States with the highest density of locally owned business, there is the highest per capita job growth rate. And not just that, but this study from the Federal Reserve, our monetary authority in Atlanta, also looked at cities and regions across the United States and found that in those communities with the highest number of locally owned businesses, there is the highest per capita income growth rate. In other words, the best way of reducing poverty, increasing equality, is to go local. We also know that local businesses are extremely profitable. This is from Canada, and what it shows is the most profitable businesses have 10 to 20 employees. The least profitable businesses are those that are traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Now listen, if I had more than 10 minutes, I would show you a bunch of slides that would prove to you that in most Western economies, local businesses are the majority of jobs, the majority of value added, they're highly competitive, they're actually becoming more competitive with many trends in our modern economy. Given all that, surely all of you are invested in local business. So let me just ask you a quick question here. By show of hands, those of you with savings for your retirement, how many of you put at least 1% into local business? Okay, I see about a quarter, maybe a fifth of the hands. This is outrageous. You are the most locally minded people in Bristol in the UK, and you are fundamentally messing up. You are supporting the companies you detest, and you are undermining the companies that are the key to happiness. We have to change this. The reason we have done this is that we created what you might call investor apartheid. The legal systems of the West create a securities law system where there are accredited investors like Gordon Gekko, the top 1% in income and wealth. You're allowed to invest in anything, anytime, no questions asked. And then there's the rest of us. If we want to put a penny in a local business, historically, it would cost that local business $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, or your equivalent in pounds, just to take that penny. No wonder we have this investment apartheid. How can we get the 99% of us to start putting money into great local businesses? Because if we do, we unleash not only great local economies, but we take the fuel out of the monsters of global capital. I want to share with you some of the successes that we've had in North America. They just scratched the surface, but I think they're kind of inspiring. This, you may remember, we once had a president named Barack Obama. We convinced him to change the securities law and implement what's called the Jobs Act to make it cheaper and easier for local businesses to take money from the grassroots through crowdfunding. We also changed the law in 36 states so that if you want to do local crowdfunding, you can now do it cheap and easy. In my own state of Maryland, this woman here, who was not a politician at the time, convinced our state house unanimously to make it easy for businesses to borrow up to $100 from their customer $100,000 total with no legal paperwork whatsoever. We created a lawyer-free zone. In Nova Scotia, there are communities that are now allowed to create local pension funds. And there are maybe, 50, 60 of these pension funds in a country of fewer than 1 million people. In Alberta, there are investment co-ops where people can put their money in, and these co-ops in turn can then invest in all kinds of local businesses and other co-ops. In New Brunswick, they just implemented a 50% tax credit. Every dollar that you put into a local business above $1,000 generates 50 cents of reduction in your taxes in provincial tax obligations. These are serious, serious reforms, and in response to what Andrew said, we've done all of this in the last 10 years. Now, I've spent most of my life affiliating with losing causes, and to finally win one is disorienting, but it can be done. Where I want to leave you is with this scene in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And you may recall that after Indiana went after, snakes and spiders and made his way through bullets, he finally gets to the crypt where there's a 500-year-old guardian. And he says, Indiana, your last task will be to choose the goblet from which Christ drank. And he points to 50 goblets. Choose wisely. Well, at that point, this guy, the German spy, jumps to the front and says, I know which one Christ would have drunk from. It would have been the most ornate. He drinks from it, and he spontaneously combusts. And the guardian says, he chose poorly. Well, my point is that all of us are choosing poorly when it comes to finance. You saw it with the hands. And here's what I'd like to ask you. It's one thing to attend a conference, it's another thing to do something because of the conference. Make a concrete commitment that you will shift at least 1% of your savings this next year from non-local business to local business. In fact, make that commitment every year. 1% may seem insignificant, but as Gandhi said, everything we do is insignificant. And yet it's still very important that you do it. Thank you.